Okay. So today, what I would like to speak on is the covenant. And if I was going to title this, which it doesn't have to be this title, I would title it "When I See the Rainbow." In our scripture, there's certain scriptures that speak about the rainbow. In the first volume in Genesis, you could go there real quickly, and what it says there in Genesis 9, and if you will go to verse 12 of 9, it says, "And Yahweh said, this shall be the sign of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations." It says, "I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for a sign of the covenant between me and you. It shall be when I bring a cloud over the earth, and the rainbow shall be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant with, which is between me and you and every living creature of the earth. The waters shall never again become a flood to destroy the earth." Now, there are certain things that we should just look at in this. And the first thing is to understand what the cloud is. You know, when they speak about a rainbow, if we look in the sky when there's a day that there's mist in the sky, and the sun is out, it's very easy to see a rainbow in the sky. And as the book is written, or the scripture is written, and as it's translated, we believe that's the covenant that is speaking of. Well, that's symbolic, and we could think about it, but there's really not much that we could say, okay, when it rains, then all of a sudden Yahweh is going to remember a covenant that he has made with us. One thing we got to remember is that there is nothing for Yahweh to remember. Okay, Yahweh it's impossible for Yahweh to forget in the first place. So we have to see what the cloud is, and if we understand the cloud, then we know why there's a rainbow in the cloud, and we're going to know what the rainbow means to us. We're going to know what the true meaning of this rainbow is, and we actually figure out what the covenant is all about. Now, if you could go over to Revelations chapter 10. Now the rainbow really signifies the cloud signifies the activity of Yahweh, and the activities of Yahweh are mysterious. Yahweh works in mysterious ways. So the cloud is his secret work that most people can't, don't realize, except for those who have the eyes to see the secret work. So when he puts the secret work in the earth, and it's not just like, well, there's only one thing that's going to be going on. He works with whomever he pleases. But when that work comes in there, or, the workings of Yahweh, in the workings of Yahweh is the rainbow. We're going to look at what the rainbow is, and hopefully today we'll be able to get to it. But if you go over to Revelation chapter 10, and we look at verse 1, it says, "And I saw another mighty Malach come down from heaven." So you see where it's coming from. It's coming from heaven. And what's in heaven? Yeah, the clouds are in heaven. Okay, when we just look up in the air, but there is something else that's going on. Okay, so let's look at heaven as something that is with Yahweh, and not just something in our skies. So he goes, "Now, come down from heaven." Now he says, this individual or this entity is clothed with a cloud. And so it's clothed with a cloud. That means the cloud is all around him. He's in the cloud, in other words. Okay, and it says, "And the rainbow was upon his head." So the rainbow is on his head, and he is in the cloud. So now we could take that and go back to Genesis that we just got been reading, and we see that when Yahweh brings a cloud and we see the rainbow in the cloud, we could see a little bit of more of a correlation in that area. So it says, and the rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as a pillar of fire. So it's a mount that is coming down, okay? And the mount that comes down usually has something to do with humanity in some kind of manner. So something is coming from Yahweh is coming down to us. Now, if we really think about it, when Yahweh does a secret work, and that secret work comes down to humanity. It doesn't come to everybody, and it comes in an etheric sense. It comes to the minds and the senses of people, those who he's going to work with. And those who he's going to work with are those who could actually hear him, could actually see him, spiritually that is, that he could actually trust with a work that they will go forth and do the very thing that he's talking about. Now we're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 1 and look at some more of this cloud and rainbow. So Ezekiel chapter 1, let's look in verse 28. It says here, like the sight of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the brightness surrounding it. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of Yahweh. When I saw it, I fell upon my face. Then I heard the voice of one who spoke. Now, we don't have to hear, if somebody's around us and that voice is speaking, it doesn't mean that everybody is going to hear that voice, okay? The person who is being spoken to could hear that voice. When Yahshua was being baptized, do you remember that? And he came up and he heard a voice. And the voice spoke to him. And everybody else around didn't really hear this voice, but Yachanan did, because it was already promised to Yachanan, to the one you see this coming down upon. So this is a secret work of Yahweh. And what you saw happening is that something is coming from Yahweh, okay? And this thing comes down to an individual who made themselves ready. And then this individual now is going to be a projection of exactly what came into him. Okay, so we're going to look at this. We're going to look at this for a little bit, because this rainbow is every rainbow has colors. If we look at a rainbow, we're going to see colors that's there, and all this is actually in our scriptures. It's actually in the law. So in Revelations, we'll go back over to Revelations really quickly. Okay, and we're going to see that the rainbow again in correlation with something in heaven. Okay, so in Revelations chapter 4, let's look at verse 3. Okay, now this is Yachanan, and Yachanan was in the spirit. Okay, and he said a throne was set in heaven, and one was upon a throne. This is verse 2. Now, verse 3 now, it says, and he who sat on the throne had the appearance of a jasper, not that it was, but the appearance of this. These are colors now. And a sardis stone, and there was a rainbow surrounding the throne, or the appearance, because of what is going through the stone and what's being reflected through the stone. This is a rainbow in a sense. That's what it looks like the appearance of an emerald, or light going through something. Then something is appearing. Now the thing about it is, this cloud, or this work that Yahweh has, it could be in any kind of mode. if you remember the children of Israel, as they were going through the wilderness, there was a cloud of smoke by day. And it says the glory of Yahweh was with them by night. The flame of the glory of Yahweh was with them by night. Now, and it covered them. There was a canopy that covered them. But there was a cloud. This cloud is a work that Yahweh is doing. And during that time, this was something that was being done with the children of Israel. Now we're going to go over to Isaiah really quickly. Isaiah chapter 4. We're going to look at chapter 4 of Isaiah. And let's look at chapter 4. And we're going to look at verse 4 first. Chapter 4 and verse 4. It says, when Yahweh has washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion. Now he has to wash something away. Now, this is not just the daughters of Zion. This is, it is the daughters of Zion, but it's not just the daughters of Zion that were considered to be blood from the lineage of the children of Israel, if you will. It's talking about anyone who would be of the place or the space that would fulfill certain things in their lives. They would also have to be the daughters of Zion, because the daughters are going to bring forth fruit. Okay, so when Yahweh has washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, he could actually use them now and purge the blood from the midst of Jerusalem by the spirit of judgment. So something has to take place now. So there's a cleansing by judgment and by the spirit of burning. This is something that is used to try us and actually remove the filth or our errors from ourselves, from us. But the Father does this. But he does this through spirit. He does it through circumstances and situations that comes into our lives that cause us many times to change our ways and move in the area that he would like us to move in. And this is called cleansing. Okay? But we have to do this. The pressure may come, but we have to change. It says, Yahweh will create over every dwelling place of Zion when everything is cleansed now, over those whom he gathers there, a cloud and smoke. But in the cloud, there is something in the cloud. Okay? The cloud is the secret workings of Yahweh. And when you and I can understand the secret workings of Yahweh, that happens when we would have made some changes in our lives, and certain things would be reflected onto us for us to wake up and start seeing. But Yahweh has to cleanse us, or we have to be cleansed before this happens. In other words, we have to take our sacrifice to the altar and make the right sacrifices, and then we become a sweet-smelling aroma for Yahweh. Okay, and at this point, Yahweh can use the individual. So here goes. We go a little further. Okay, so now, Yahweh will create over every dwelling place of Mount Zion, over those whom he gathers there. Not everybody is gathered there. Mount Zion is really not a mount that you see in Israel, but Mount Zion is the highest region in the individual. So Mount Zion is actually in you, and Yahweh is going to work with you and I from Mount Zion, okay, which is in you. Okay, over those whom he gathers there, a cloud and smoke by day, and the shining of a flaming fire by night, for over all their glory, Yahweh will create for them there a defense. Okay, there will be a defense, because there upon Mount Zion will be the tabernacle. The tabernacle is where Yahweh dwells. Remember, the tabernacle of Yahweh is now with man. Now, the only way for the tabernacle of Yahweh to be with men is for man to cleanse himself, that Yahweh could actually become joined in that individual, and the Father and the Son sups in that individual, or individuals, or whoever makes themselves ready. Okay, so there on Mount Zion, and there in you will be the tabernacle, where some place where Yahweh dwells in you, and we all have to seek the place where Yahweh is going to put his name, his reputation, his pureness inside of the individual. Okay, her shadow for defense in that day from the heat, okay, for a place of refuge and for a covert shelter from storm, and from rain. In other words, from the elements that comes upon everyone. Now, if you remember, I had told you guys to look at page 662A. Okay, 662A, and of course that's symbolic of a body. Now, if you remember, Moshe was told to make a pattern of what he saw in heaven. So what Moshe made there was something that's already in heaven. But something we have to understand also is that the temple is also your body. The temple is also your body, just as the apostles told us. And in your body, okay, the Father wants to work. And so we have to cleanse this vessel, because this vessel here, it said it's not our own. We have to cleanse it, and so that Yahweh could use it. But how would Yahweh use it? Well, something has to come in. We have to get something coming in that we could recognize that it's Yahweh's in the first place, because Yahweh is going to use it for his special work, for a holy work. He's going to use the vessel that you and I have, but he has to connect with it. Now, he doesn't connect directly with the vessel. He connects with that which is in the vessel, which is in the home, because that which is in that vessel is the one who is going to use that vessel to do whatever Yahweh wants that individual to do in the earth. So Yahweh is going to create through that individual, or reflect himself through that person. Okay, so now we're going to look at the most holy place, okay? And the most holy place we have in that page 662. If we look at it, we see that there's a most holy place that says M, and there's an H for holy place. And then we're going to see that, we're going out into the altar, where the altar is at, the inner court, the outer court, going further and further and further out. Okay. So in the most holy place, there's some furnishings in the most holy place. And we got to look at these furnishings. In the most holy place, we have the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant. Now, the Ark of the Covenant is a symbol of Father. In the Ark of the Covenant, though, there were certain things in the Ark of the Covenant. If you remember, okay, now let's go over to John. Okay. Okay, so the Ark of the Covenant. Now I'm sorry. Let's not go to John. Let's go to Hebrews. Hebrews is where. So what I said here now is that manna, the Ark of the Covenant had in it. It had manna. Okay, and in it also it had the tablets that Moshe brought down from the mountain, if you will. So we're going to look at Hebrews chapter 9. And we're going to look at verse 4 first. Now let's go to verse 3. 9 and verse 3. Now, mind you here, the translations, but we'll go through this, just try to set the foundation, that how it's translated here, and I haven't seen a book that actually has it translated correctly, but if you know how everything is set up, you'll be able to see it. Okay, he says, in verse 3, he says, and behind the second veil, the inner part of the tabernacle, which is called the most holy place. So they're going into the court, if you will. If you go from where the V is at to where the H is, there is a doorway, in a sense. And if you're going to go into where the M is at, there is a second doorway. And on that doorway, there's a veil separating the H, the place of the H, from the place of the M, or the holy place from the most holy place. This is what's there. So now he says, which had the altar of incense and the ark of the covenant overlaid on all sides with gold. Now, the way it's read here, it sounds like the altar of incense and the ark of the covenant are in the same room. But we're going to look into that. We're going to say it's not in the same room. Okay? The ark of the covenant is in the most holy place, and the altar of incense is just outside the curtain, but it's in the holy place. Okay. So it says now, so now we have the ark of the covenant overlaid on all sides with gold, in which were placed in it now the golden pot that had manna. So now what he's doing, he's showing that there's something that's going to be in there from Yahweh, and this is manna that comes from heaven. Okay, but it's symbolic here. He's putting that there, but that's manna that's going to be coming from heaven. Okay, he says that was there. Aaron's rod that budded. Now, Aaron's rod that budded was not in the Ark of the Covenant. It was in the most holy place, but not in the Ark of the Covenant. Now it says, and the tablets of the covenant, which Moshe brought down, now that was in the Ark of the Covenant. So actually, there were two things in the Ark of the Covenant, and the Ark of the Covenant is symbolic of the Father. In the Father, okay, you have the bread, which comes down, which is the Son that is fed to everybody, and you had the covenant, which is the Spirit. And if you understand what we're talking about here, we know the scriptures already. It tells us that there is a Father, and whatever the Father has, he gives to the Son. Okay, and the Father actually has the Spirit, which is the law, the tablet, and he gives it to the Son, and the Son takes this very same Spirit, and the Son creates from that. Okay, now let's go over to John chapter 57 here. Okay, so in it we have manna, and the manna is symbolic of the only begotten Son. The only begotten Son, if you remember, came into Yeshua. Okay, this is my only begotten Son in whom I'm well pleased. Now in chapter 6, in verse 57 here, it says, just as the living Father has sent me, and I live because of the Father, so he who eats me will live because of me. This is the bread which came down out of Yahweh, that came down. This is the hidden manna that is in the Ark of the Covenant. And the Ark of the Covenant is symbolic of the Father in the most holy place. And when we're able to go in there, we meet the Father in the most holy place. So he says now, so this is the manna that comes down. Now, he is manna that comes down, but he's in the earth. That means he receives something from above, and the Father is going to do a secret work through this man, okay? Whatever work he's going to do is going to be through this man right here. But Yahshua is not the only person who ever lived that was going to do a work. Neither was he the only person on earth during that time that was doing the work for Yahweh, but he was one. Because if you remember, the apostles ran upon somebody who was also doing the work, and they were trying to stop this individual. And Yahshua said, whoever is not against me is for me. So there are others who could do the very same thing. Now, so in verse 58 now, he says, this is that bread which comes down out of Yahweh, that comes down, not like your fathers who ate manna, but died. He who eats of this bread will live forever. The reason why he'll live forever is because he is going to wake up. Because what he's going to be eating is that which is of that covenant. Okay? He's going to be able to see the rainbow, know what the rainbow is about, and what he's doing is going to be a reflection of the rainbow by what the Father is shining in him. Okay, so Yahshua here is showing that everybody ate something and they actually died. Now, let's go over to John chapter 15. Okay, John chapter 15. Chapter 15, and we're going to look at verse 26. 15 and verse 26. Okay, so something has to come down. So when it comes down, it's going to deal with individuals no different than Yahshua. In 26, it says, but when the Comforter has come, which I will send to you. So if you eat him, guess what's going to come to you too? Just like it came to him, because he prepared himself for the Father. Well, he's telling you and I, if you do what I say to do, which is eating him, okay? If you do what I tell you to do, you eat of my flesh in the same manner. And just as the Father has given to me, I'm going to give to you. But it's a spirit. When the Comforter has come at that time, which I will send to you from the Father. He has that authority now. The Spirit of truth, which proceeds from the Father. This is the bread, the manna that's in the Ark of the Covenant, physically in the law of Moshe, but it's not speaking of that because obviously that's not going to do very much. It's talking about spiritual things. Okay? Proceeds from the Father, proceeds from the Ark of the Covenant. Yahweh's Spirit will testify of me. And you must also testify because now it's in you. Because you will work with me in power. It's, when it comes to you and I, we have a job. We're obligated now to do the very same thing. Shine the same rainbow, if you will. Okay? Put this very same thing out. Okay. Now, in what was being spoken of by Shaul in Hebrews 9, 3 and 4, it had showed that the Ark of the Covenant, and also you had the altar of incense. It was in the same place, but that's not really what it is. So we're going to go over to Exodus 30 and take a look at that. So we'll clear that up. So as we go forward, it could be in our minds that what was there in Exodus, in Hebrews chapter 9, we would have to look at that as some kind of translations that was not exactly, was somehow, something was lost in there, somehow coming down to us. So chapter 30 of Exodus, we're going to look at verse 6. Okay, verse 6. It says, and you shall put the altar of incense in front of the veil that is in front of the ark of the testimony. So it's not in the same place, which is behind the mercy seat that is over the testimony where I will meet you. So it's not in the very same place. Now here goes in verse 7. Now, he says, now Aaron must burn fragrant incense on the altar. This is the altar of incense now, every morning when he tends to that lamp. So every morning, Aaron is doing something there, but if it's in the most holy place, Aaron only goes to the most holy place once a year. So it's not in the most holy place. It's in the holy place where the priest ministers every single day. Okay, by courses every single day. So it's not in that area right there. Okay, so now we're going to look at the staff, which was also said to be in the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, and let's go over to Numbers chapter 17 and look at that. Numbers chapter 17. Okay, now the bread that was in the Ark of the Covenant, it was supposed to last forever. It would never dry out. It would never get messed up because it was in this enclosure that has some power, electrical power that was in it that would keep that thing, preserve it. Okay, and that's actually what the law, that's what the covenant does. It preserves us. Okay, and when we use that law of the covenant in the same manner, there's preservation going to whoever we give it to. So now, Numbers chapter 17, let's look at verse 4. It says, place them in the tent of meetings in front of the testimony where I will meet you. Now, the tent of meetings in front of the testimony is the Ark of the Covenant where I meet you. I meet you in the most holy place. Now, if you remember what's going on, you can go back and read this later on. Okay, but there were some issues that came forth with the children of Israel rebelling. Okay, and if you remember Korah, because of this rebellion, Korah and his entourage had gotten messed up. And then there was still rebellion. Well, we could just go ahead and read it. It's right above. In chapter 16, let's go to 49. Maybe it's there. It says, but 14,700 people died from the plague in addition to those who had died because of Korah's rebellion. So it's kind of the same thing. Okay, so Korah's rebellion caused some people to die, and 14,700 people have also died from another kind of rebellion because they did not sit to Yahweh with something else, and the plague came upon them. Then Aaron returned to Moshe, and at the entrance of the tent of meetings, for the plague had stopped. So this is because of what has taken place. So now Yahweh is going to establish something with Aaron's rod. So he says in verse 4, place them, okay, and what he had done, he had taken a staff from each of the heads of every tribe. Okay, I'll go ahead and read it. In verse 2, it says, speak to the children of Israel and get 12 staffs from them, one from the leaders of each of the ancestral tribes. Write the names of each man on the staff. Write Aaron's name on the staff of the Levi, on the staff of Levi, for there shall be one staff for the head of each ancestral tribe. Place them in the tent of meetings in front of the testimony where I will meet you. So where Yahweh would meet Moshe is by the mercy seat, which is actually in the most holy place. Okay, so he says to place them there, put them in there. Okay, and let's go to verse 8 now. It says, the next day Moshe entered the tent of meetings in front of the testimony and saw that Aaron's staff, which represented the house of Levi, had not only sprouted, but had budded, blossomed, and produced almonds. So this is something that's going on with his. Now in verse 10, it says, and Yahweh said to Moshe, put back Aaron's staff in front of the testimony. So it wasn't in it. Put it back there, okay? To be kept as a sign against the rebels, that you may put their murmuring away from me, so that they will not die. So it was not in the Ark of the Covenant. Okay, so we're seeing that. Okay. So then Moshe did as Yahweh had commanded him. So he did. He went ahead and did that. No, so that's in the most holy place. Okay, so in the most holy place, we're establishing that there is the Ark of the Covenant, Father. In it, you had this manna. Okay, Yahshua said, "I'm the manna that comes down." This is the sun that come down, and of course, you had the tablet, which is the Spirit, the law that was written on, which is the Spirit. So in the Father has life or light, which is the law in himself. He gives it to the Son, so the Son could do whatever he wants to do with that. He gives it to whomever he wants to. Well, he came upon Yahshua. Okay? Yahshua said, now I give it to you. You got to do the same thing. We all have to do the same thing. We're obligated to do exactly what that is. Now, this is the rainbow that's coming down, but it's in the cloud. And this cloud is the work of Yahweh. When we see it, when we actually start seeing what's going on, okay, Yahweh has no need to remember it. We are the ones who are going to remember, because we are the children. Our names are Yahweh also. Yahweh has no need to remember it. We lost our memory. We lost it. So when this is seen in the cloud, in this great work, we all of a sudden start remembering who we are. We start making strides in this covenant. We start seeing that. And now we have the ability to actually keep this covenant. Okay, so the Holy Spirit is the book of the law. Okay, let's look at Deuteronomy. Yahweh has no need to remember something, because Yahweh is not forgetting. Okay, us in our fall have forgotten. When we wake up, we remember. We remember the covenant. So in Deuteronomy here, 31, let's look in verse 26. Okay? It says, take this book of the law. Now, this is not the book of the law, or should I say, this is not the tablets. Okay? This is the scroll that Moshe wrote upon, because the tablets went inside the Ark of the Covenant. But if you remember, Moshe also wrote on a scroll that didn't go inside the covenant. Okay, this is what this one is talking about. So he says right here, take the book of the law and put it beside the Ark of the Covenant of Yahweh, your father, so it may be there as a witness against you, because of all the rebellion and stiff-necked stuff that we do. So now, inside the Ark of the Covenant, we established what's in there, but outside of it now is Aaron's staff that budded. It's activity. Activity, the sun. But also outside of it is the law that Moshe wrote, Spirit. Now, that's all in the most holy place that we're looking at here. That's all in the most holy place. This is what we're looking at. So now we're going to go down to the rod here that we're looking at. Okay, we go on to the rod and look at Numbers. Okay. Now, we don't even have to look at Numbers, because we actually just read that. Number 16. We actually saw that there were some issues with Korah, and because of what happened with Korah, certain things had to take place there to show the children of Israel that they should not rebel. So we're going to go to Exodus, not Numbers. Let's go over to Exodus chapter 16. Okay? Okay, chapter 16. This is 16, and let's go to verse 32. And Moshe said, this is what Yahweh has commanded. take an omer of manna, and omer is a tenth guys, and keep it for the generations to come, so it can, so they can see the bread I gave to eat in the wilderness when I brought you out of Egypt. And Moshe directed Aaron, saying, take a pot and put a full omer of manna in it, and keep it in front of Yahweh to be kept for your generations. As Yahweh commanded Moshe, so Aaron put the manna in front of the testimony here, that it might be kept. Now, he didn't put it in front of the testimony. What he did, he put this in front of Yahweh, which was inside of this Ark of the Covenant. So this was inside the Ark of the Covenant, but it was in front of Yahweh. Okay, so now we're going to go to Revelations. Now let's go to verse 36 first of Exodus here. Okay, so in verse 36 here, it tells us here, an omer is 1/10. An omer is 1/10. Okay, so now we're going to go to Revelations chapter 2. Revelations chapter 2. And we're going to look at verse 17. Revelations chapter 2. Let's look at verse 17. Okay, he says, he who has an ear. Okay, so that means you and I who are waking up. It's a command. It's a heavenly command. So if you have understanding to get it, it says, let him. Let him. It's a command. Allow him. Okay? Let him hear what the Spirit says. Now, the Spirit is coming from above. The Spirit is coming from the most holy place. Is coming all the way down to whoever is going to be speaking, whoever is going to be used in this, because it's coming through the cloud here. Okay? This rainbow is seen in the cloud, and everything is coming down all the way to whoever is going to be used. And this is many people. Okay, who has an ear, whoever that is, allow him to get this. What the Spirit says to the called out ones of the house of Yahweh. To him who overcomes, I will give to eat of the hidden manna. The hidden manna is in the Ark of the Covenant. That's where it was put, and it was hidden. No one was able to see it, okay? Because now that's what's in the Father. That's the Son that's in the Father. And will give him a white stone, and in the stone a restored name. It's coming from heaven. You are waking up to the redemption of who you were or who you are. Okay, a restored name written, which is Yahweh, written, which no one acknowledges except he who has the understanding, except for he whose ears has been pierced. Okay, the ears piercing means that you and I are open. Our ears are open to hearing what the Father is saying. But we're hearing this through a spiritual mode. That's how we're hearing it. It's not just coming to us back because someone decided to put it in a book. It doesn't come in that manner. Okay, so now we're going to go to John, 1 John, I should say. Okay, 1 John, and we remember, keep in mind what we saw just now in the most holy place, which we saw was in the Ark of the Covenant, which is the symbolic of Father, but in it you had the Spirit, and in it you had Son. Now, 1 John chapter 5, we're going to look at this here. 1 John chapter 5. Okay, let's look at verse 7. Now let's go to verse 6. Verse 6 says, This is he who came through water and blood, Yahshua Messiah, not by water only, but by the water and blood. And it is the Spirit which testifies, because the Spirit is truth. Now let's go to verse 7. So Yahshua came in this mode. Yahshua gave you something. That means it has come down to you too if you and I ate that. So in verse 7 now, it says, For there are three which testifies. The Spirit, which is the Father, or the Ark of the Covenant. The water, which is the only begotten Son, or this manna. And the blood, which is the law, okay? The life is in the blood, the law. And these three are one. These three is what you find in the most holy place. That's one. So the most holy place has this thing, and everything else is going to come down. So notice what we have here. Okay, notice what we have here. The Father is light, and in the Father there is this blood, Spirit, and you have the Son, which is water. Okay, that comes through. Now, the Father gives that light to the Son, but the Son is water. When that light comes through the water, it gives a prism. And this prism is a color. The color in our natural world here, it's a rainbow. This rainbow is the covenant that we're talking about. When this light that's from the Father comes down to the Son, which is also light, the Son projects that light in the earth, but this, whatever he projects, which is light, it's as the prism of the rainbow, the colors of the rainbow. Now, this rainbow is also speaking about in our physical bodies. If you notice, they have what you call a chakra system in the body. Well, there are 12 chakra systems. There are 12 chakras in the system, and you have actually sub chakras also that are, they call meridians. But you actually have 7 chakras that's in the physical body that collects energy that comes in. You have 5 outside that goes all the way up to your source. Okay, that comes down. Okay. So here now, the first one is not in the most holy place. The most holy place is actually what's putting everything down through the Son into the rest of the body. So the first one is the altar of incense, and they give the color purple. Okay, that's what they give it, the color purple. The next one is actually the third eye. Actually, let's go to a scripture here in Genesis. Okay, in Genesis chapter 28. Genesis chapter 28. And let's look at verse 12. Okay? 28 and verse 12. Okay. Okay, so this crown is where you and I are getting messages from the most holy place. Okay? So you have the altar of incense, and the altar of incense is actually where you would have the prayers of the saints going back and forth. Okay, so this is the crown. This is your head, but above the head is actually another octave, because this is the 7th. But above that is starting a whole nother world. That's why there is a veil between it. Okay, there's a veil between it. Okay, so above that everything is coming from the most holy place down into the holy place where the chakra system starts. This is your body. This is your body. Okay, so in Genesis 28, let's look at verse 12 here. So Yaakov went to this place. He says, then he dreamed, and behold, a ladder resting on the earth, and its top reaching to heaven, and the Malachim of Yahweh were ascending and descending on it. Now, here it says the earth, but everything has the same replica above, all the way up, coming all the way down. So you have the most holy place, and you and I are in earth. And the crown is actually, when the Father is going to be speaking through this this cloud, which in the cloud is the rainbow, is going back and forth through the crown. It's coming through the crown. Now, coming to the crown doesn't mean everything, because there's a place now that there's even more. Okay? Now, if you wonder why they have 7 houses of Yahweh, or churches, whatever you call it, and if you wonder why the 7th one was the one that was chosen more than about everything else, the reason why, because that's the one who has the insight. That's the one who had the insight to have the brotherly love, to know what it was all about. And in it says, hold on, so you don't lose your crown. Hold on. Now, so the second one now, so you have 7. We go down to 6. 6 is the eye. The eye. Now let's go to Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. Okay? Matthew chapter 6 and verse 22. He says here, the lamp of the body, that which causes us to actually see what's going on, the lamp of the body is the eye. Did you see that he didn't say eyes? Because he's not talking about the eyes that you and I have. He's talking about the eye of insight. Okay? The eye that the Father gives us when we make the right sacrifice, when we allow ourselves to be obligated to the things that Yahshua gave us for us to live by here. Whatever has come down to Yahshua, Yahshua is giving it to you and I to do the very same thing, to live in the very same manner. This is the cloud, okay? The workings of your Father is a mystery. When you look up in the sky to a cloud, you can't see through the cloud because things are there. The makeup of the cloud causes us not to see through what's behind it or what's in it. So it's the mystery of our Father, okay? But it's his work. He works in mystery, mysterious ways, okay? He is hidden in the dark, in the smoke, so you really can't clearly see. Well, he will cause you to see. When he wants us to see, he says, he's, like we read in Isaiah, he cleanses the daughters of Zion. You and I. So he could use us. And then he gives us this covenant, which is the rainbow in the cloud. It comes down to the individual and it comes into our energy centers. That's how we receive it. And it causes our energy centers to be balanced, opened. Because, I mean, they're already opened, okay? They weren't opened, you wouldn't be alive. But they could be either dysfunctionally opened or they could be overactive. And these could create issues within us. But when they're balanced, okay, then everything is perfect when they're balanced. When you're getting just what you need in each of and all of them, this is what it is. Now, these are the seals that it says only one person is able to open the seal. Well, many of us think it's Yahshua. Well, and it's not that it's not Yahshua, because Yahshua was used in that manner. But it's the only begotten Son is the only one that is found that is worthy to open that. And Yahshua was able to be opened in this manner because of the only begotten Son. And if we do the very same thing, here it is said he'll give us the very same Spirit from the Father. So your seals are also open because you have done the very same things which is called of us to do, so that our seals could be open in balance and receive the same light. That's a reflection through the sun. And this is a rainbow. You have the purple, you have the indigo, you have the blue, you have the green, you have the yellow, the orange, and you have the red. Now, if you look at this, they're all here, but nobody really looks at it. Okay, so you have the M, and the M is not necessarily, the M is not one of them in actuality. Okay. Now I'm gonna explain the M a little more. Okay, so let's go over to Revelations, and we're gonna see the M just a little bit more. Okay, because they're those that are set up that has the same kind of setup, but they're not, but they're doing it on the opposite end, on the left-handed end. So in Revelations chapter 17, let's look at verse 11. Okay. Okay, so it says here, and the beast that was and is not. Well, it was because it's actually doing the work. It's actually working through people, but it's not because no one could see it in the physical world. Okay, so it is, but it's not. Indeed, he is the eighth. Another octave. Another octave. You go to 7, you have another octave. Well, you go to the crown, there's another octave. He is the eighth. Okay? Okay. And is of the 7. That means that one is reflecting whatever is reflecting through to those who wants to rule this earth, and it's using them in the same manner, putting its rainbow down. But this rainbow today is coming in. You see the rainbow today that they're using, right? Okay, the Rainbow Coalition and all that stuff. It's a whole different side. It's there to deceive people. Okay, so you have another rainbow that's coming in, and you have all these LBGTQZYL, all these guys here that has another rainbow. Okay, but that's of the 8th. That is actually sending that down and using individuals whose centers are open to that in the same manner, and they are being used to do things in the earth at this time. But most of their energy is coming from the base. It's coming from the base, an overactive base. Okay, base chakra, if you will. Okay, that which is lower, demonic. Okay, central and demonic. We looked at that which is in the earth. Okay, so we're seeing this. So he says this is of the 7th, and it's going into perdition because it's not doing what the Father would have you do. Now, in the same manner, that which is after M is also the 8th, and it's off the 7th though, because it's sending everything into the 7 too. Okay, it's sending everything down. Okay, so as we go down now, we have the M, okay, which is the 8th. And then as we come down, we have the altar of incense, which is the crown. Okay, that's getting everything from the 8th coming down. Okay, then you have the eye, which is the 7th. We just got to looking at it. The eye, which is the 7th, and it talked about also the 7 spirits of Yahweh, the 7 lights of Yahweh, which is the lampstand. Okay, the light, the lampstand. On the other side here, in the holy place, you have the bread. Okay, the bread is the message. It's the throat. It's the message that comes down to everyone, and that is the throat. Now, the altar now is where you have the heart. The altar. Now, if you take that 662A and you make a line going straight from the east gate all the way up to the B, I think it's a B behind the most holy place going up, okay, straight up vertically, that line is telling us that whatever is above is below. It's the same thing, okay? Take another line and you draw it across horizontally through the altar and going the other way. This across is telling us now it's a separation of what is above where and what's below, and where heaven and earth is meeting right at that altar. So we take a line and go through the altar horizontally and vertically, and what you get there is a cross. This cross is a symbol of life. It's not what, you know, being in the HOY, they were always, oh, they use the cross and this is God worship, da, 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 da. I mean, if we don't understand it, yes, it's going to be that. Okay? If we do understand it, we're going to know exactly it's not what it's talking about. It's a sign of life, and you're going to receive life, and I'm going to receive life when we start waking up and understanding who we are. Okay? When we understand who we are, we know that we meet at the altar. We meet the heavenly things at the altar. And this is not an altar that we go and sacrifice an animal on. No, we are the lamb. We are the daughters of Zion that has to be purged. We are that. Yahweh is ready to cleanse us. Cleanse this vessel that he could use it for whatever he wants to use it for. You know what that means? That means you and I got to get rid of ourselves. That means we got to let go so we can let him in. Because the energy that flows in doesn't go in if there's resistance. It doesn't flow where there's resistance. It's going to go someplace else. Now, there are other energies that's there. And if I want to have a great time going partying, guess what? That energy ain't going to go someplace else. If that's what's in me, it's going to come right in, and I'm going to find everywhere to go and party. Of course, there's balance in everything, because that which is above, the things below, can't function with the things above, which the soul is, that's the soul keeps wanting that which is above. It wants to go back home. So when we're doing things in the earth that's all central and demonic, the opportunity comes for balance. And it comes in what you call torment. Issues of the mind. I was telling somebody that we're all crazy here because we have left our home. We're so far distorted away from what's going on. And all we see is what we want. But when the cloud appears and you see the rainbow in the cloud, then you can start seeing. You start waking up. And we start understanding what things are all about. Okay, I'm getting my time. So I'm going to have to close there, and hopefully next week we'll pick back up where we left off here. So with that, I'll go ahead and close.